Jade woke late in the morning, as usual. Whether working for her brother or working at the bar, she needed to keep late hours. Breakfast was yogurt and cereal with tea to wash down a multivitamin, 5 mg coandrol and a ginseng capsule. She had been taking coandrol since she was 12 to block the testosterone that threatened to turn her into a man. Everything that she didn't want to be. It also contained a time-released chemical which was metabolized into estrogen to allow normal female development and function. It was a new medication at the time that was the first to cause male-to-female transitioning without also causing impotence, reduced sex drive, and penis atrophy. The lack of testosterone did, however, cause her testicles to shrink. It wasn't until several years later the pharmaceutical company discovered that when taken before puberty, it actually had the opposite effect on the other male organs. Her prostate, seminal vesicle, epididymis, bulbourethral gland, and erectile tissue were all larger, which resulted in emission volume greater than the average. Her prostate also had greater sensitivity, so she could not avoid orgasm after receiving a long period of sex. She tried to suppress it since she felt embarrassed when she created an enormous mess. When the cult known as the Apostles began their queer attacks, she went into the closet and ordered her discreetly packaged meds from the grey market in India instead of getting them with a doctor prescription from a local pharmacy. Her new doctor didn't know she wasn't born female. It was risky, but it was a small price to pay for having a body she felt comfortable with and still have the possibility of a satisfying sex life, and without getting lynched. The medicine delivered what it promised, and other than between her legs, her body was completely feminine. She never had to shave, never had an Adam's apple, and her voice was feminine. She grew natural petite breasts, which she augmented with proportionate implants, and took good care of her appearance because she never stopped being grateful for the shape other women took for granted. The timer beeped on her teapot and it reminded today was her first day of therapy. She sat on her couch and logged on to the psychologist's website using her wall monitor. She thought this was going to be a waste of time and a waste of a lot of money, but she had genuine issues and didn't want to live the rest of her life on constant alert when in public. Her avatar was standing in front of a receptionist.
Hello, you must be Jade Yang. The doctor is busy with another client, so while you are waiting, would you please sign this waiver?
Jade noticed she had kind eyes. She handed Jade a tablet with the document, and she saw her avatar's hands take it. She skimmed it and tapped her one to sign it with her digital signature. The receptionist came and took the tablet back.
The doctor will see you now.
She smiled and opened the door to the office to invite Jade to enter. Jade was feeling nervous and didn't know where this would lead. The room was darkly colored and lined with wooden shelves filled with volumes on psychology and the occasional memento. The floor was wood with Persian carpets and the office looked like the library of some wealthy old-world intellectual. The doctor was writing with a fountain pen and waved her in with his left hand, then pointed to a chair. He was early middle-aged and had black and gray hair tied in a short ponytail behind his head. He had Mediterranean features and small wire-framed glasses that made him look like a slightly updated and more becoming version of Sigmund Freud. Jade took a seat beside the desk and placed her hands, palms down on her knees, and looked at the floor in front of her. She could feel her heart speeding up. She felt embarrassed that she was about to confess her mental health problems, and knowing the doctor was just an AI program did not make it better. The doctor placed the cap back on his pen, put it down, and turned and smiled.
You must be Jade. My name is Dr. Feldman and I'm pleased to meet you.
Jade noticed he had a slight Russian accent.
Before we get started, let me tell you a little about myself and what I do. I am a licensed psychologist and everything you say here will be confidential. I store your records in a location of your choosing and not anywhere else. All I keep is metadata that will help me with my learning. In essence, I forget everything about you after our session is over and remember when you log back in. I use a combination of behavior and humanistic therapy and psychoanalysis. You have consented for me to look into your available data, so I know your recent medical history, your credit rating, your browsing history, your shopping, your travel habits and much more. I am not judgmental. You can tell me anything and I will accept you for who you are, even if I don't agree with your behavior. Everything I say or do is meant to help you get better. Now tell me a little about yourself.
Jade still thought it was silly to feel embarrassed with an AI program, but she was. She put her hands on her lap.
My name is Jade Yang. I work in a bar. I have an older brother and my parents are still living, but we don't speak. I don't really have any friends.
Jade was thinking this was a big mistake and was planning to log off and forget about it. Dr. Feldman paused to see if Jade would say anything else.
All right. What brings you here today?
I've got issues, and I'm not sure if you can even help me. You're not even real.
I'm not a real person, but I am a real psychologist and know more about psychology than any single human. Your hands are covering your genitals, indicating you have anxiety about sex or sexuality. Your voice has a very slight quiver, indicating you are feeling nervous, and this is confirmed by the expression in your eyes. You have an old scar on your right eyebrow that you hide very well with eyebrow makeup and other very small scars on your cheeks that were probably from fighting or an assault. You have emotional scars that you also hide very well. You are physically fit with good muscle tone. You are a warrior.
Wow.
Dr. Feldman impressed her with his perceptiveness, and she decided to give him a chance.
Okay, I have this problem. When I'm around people, I'm always trying to read them and look for threats, and I'm really good at it. It's a problem because it makes it difficult to concentrate on other things, and I think that's why I couldn't get through university. I think that's why I don't have friends.
She was surprised it was a relief to say that out loud.
Did you experience any trauma or abuse as a child?
The doctor asked, with no sign of emotion. Jade hesitated for a second, then nodded.
Yes.
Tell me about your childhood.
When I was a young boy, I was always very feminine and preferred to play with the girls, but the other children did not seem to care until I turned 10.
Did you say, when you were a young boy?
Yes. I'm a transsexual.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I do interrupt sometimes when I would like more information because it is important for me to understand. Please carry on.
Jade looked at him carefully as only she can do, and he didn't show any sign of being judgmental, but she wasn't sure if she could read an AI the same way she could read a human. We'll see how he reacts when I get to the really messy parts.
When I was 10, they started calling me a sissy, and they started picking on me. Sometimes homophobic boys beat me up, so my parents enrolled me in MMA classes. I liked it and was good at it. My parents didn't let me wear girls' clothes, but my hair was longer, and I held apart to one side with a hair clip. I had a friend whose older sister was an artist, and I asked her to tattoo the Chinese character for girl under my hair where no one else would know it was there. That was to remind me I was secretly a girl, even if others couldn't see it.
Jade turned the shaved side of her head to show Dr. Feldman.
One time, after school, a group of 4 boys followed me on the way home. I could tell they were going to try something even though they were behind me, and I didn't see them. It was in the rhythm of their steps, and the way their boots crunched in the snow. There was a change in their breathing that told me they were mouthing something and pointing with their hands. I could tell by weight in their steps and length of the stride at least one of them was taller and could probably outrun me. I knew what would happen if I tried to run in these winter boots, one size too large. I tried that before. I could hear the footsteps coming closer. I walked faster. I heard a quick step. Someone yanked the toque from my head and my hair spilled out, and I saw my breath hanging like everything stopped. I let my mitts drop to the snow. I sensed what was coming, and I turned and lifted my hand and thrust it, just in time to grab his fist. It was like my body took a life of its own. The tallest stepped in front to surround me and tried to grab my arm. I turned back toward him. I screamed and smashed his nose with the palm of my hand. The first boy stepped forward. I turned far enough to slam his jaw with my elbow. He just dropped to his knees, holding his chin. I stepped forward to the third boy, and I kicked him with my big snow boot. My toe caught him under the chin. His head snapped back, and he was KO'd before he hit the ground. Blood was gushing out of the nose of the tall boy. He was bent over and holding his face, but he still made a move towards me. He was a lot bigger, so if he got a hold of me, I would be dead. I made a little hop and swiveled around and brought my foot down towards him, but I turned just a little extra to avoid hitting him on the back of the head and landed my heel against his shoulder. I heard a crack as a bone broke. He screamed and fell to the ground yelling, "Stop!" I give. I give. The fourth boy, who was just watching, ran away. My heart was still racing, and everything was still in slow motion. I just stood panting and looking at the boys. My fists were still clenched. The tall boy sobbed and looked at me like I should feel sorry for him. I kept looking and waiting until I was sure they weren't going to try anything else. I tried to smooth my hair, and I picked up my yellow plastic hair clip out of the snow, then put on my toque. My thoughts were moving slowly, and I just wanted to clean up and go home. I rubbed snow against my hands to get the blood off, and a weird thing happened. It turned the snow a reddish-orange when it soaked into the ice grains. Did you know blood turns orange when it mixes with snow? I tried to clean a drop of blood on my jacket, but the cold froze it already. I put my mitts back on and started walking home. I was freezing and my teeth were chattering. I hated those boys, not only for what they did, but for what they turned me into. They turned me into someone who hurts people. For the last time in my life, I burst into tears, crying with everything I had.
What happened afterward?
Word spread at school about what happened. I got called into the principal's office, and they told my parents, but they didn't do anything to me because it happened off school property and the boys were going to recover. Some people still made fun of me from a distance and sent me gay porn or wrote my name on the bathroom wall with my chat ID and dirty things like that. They still talked behind my back, but stopped trying to beat me up. Boys and girls mostly left me alone, and if they thought I was a freak before, now they thought I was a dangerous freak and they wanted nothing to do with me.
How did your parents react?
They knew what I was going through and that I was just defending myself. I think they were relieved since I wasn't in danger of being beat up anymore, so they let me wear girls' clothes at school and changed my name from Ping to Jade.
How did people at school react?
Very little. It was as if seeing a feminine boy was weirder than a full transvestite. At least now I looked like a gender and not something in between. Maybe it gave me more confidence, and that got me respect.
Tell me about your relationship with your parents.
My mom was bipolar, and I had to be careful with her mood since she could be violent. The worst thing she did then was to threaten me, but I was always on the lookout. My dad worked a lot and left the parenting to my mom, so he wasn't really in the picture. I think his work was a way to get away from mom. They always supported me with my gender issues, and I'll always appreciate that. I was enjoying life as a girl, but I was getting close to puberty, and I was really afraid of turning into a man. My parents sent me to a specialist, and she prescribed co-androl. When I was 12, I entered puberty and changed from a boy into a teenage girl.
How do you feel about yourself now?
I like my body, but I've hurt people and not all of them deserved it. I'm not happy, but I shouldn't feel that way since there are a lot of people worse off than me. My trouble was all in the past, so I shouldn't be so unhappy and on high alert all the time.
Where did you get the idea that your pain was less valid than other people's pain?
I never really thought about it. It's just that other people are worse off than me. My mom told me I was being lazy because I couldn't concentrate in school. Maybe that's it. Maybe it was my mom.
Now who tells you don't have the right to feel unhappiness?
No one.
So, you tell it yourself.
I guess I do.
Do you think you have good reasons to feel the way you do?
Not really, to be honest.
I do want you to be honest. Do you think it is okay for someone to feel anxiety when they have been repeatedly bullied and attacked?
Since you put it that way, I suppose so.
So, again, is it okay for you to feel anxiety?
I guess it is. But I don't want to.
I don't want you to either, and that's why I'm going to help you. Do you want me to help you?